I'll call the special meeting to order of the Planning Commission. If we could have a roll call, please.
Chair DeBoll,
Here.
Vice Chair Lowe,
Here.
Commissioner Andre,
Here.
Commissioner Quilty, absent, Commissioner Gross,
Here.
Commissioner Stoffel-Cannon,
Here.
and Commissioner Zelmer.
Here.
Thank you.
Rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. And move on to oral communications. Anybody in the audience wishes to address the Planning Commission on an item not here or on the agenda in subject matter of our commission? Seeing none, I'll close that. Oral communications, we'll go to consent calendar. One item on it. So if somebody would like to make a motion, we can.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar with abstaining for the November 16th.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Okay. Moving on to item 6. This is a public hearing for the adoption of vehicle miles traveled thresholds of significance.
Want to do the minutes first or no?
That was on the consent calendar, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yes. We do it first or no?
We did all of them.
The minutes?
Consent
Oh,
consent
the
calendar.
Part of consent.
The minutes.
A, B. Was it on the consent
It's
calendar?
consent.
Consent calendar.
Mhm.
Did you want to talk about the minutes?
Actually,
You think-
I need to abstain. I'm sorry. I need to abstain then for,
Yeah, I had to abstain for a couple of them.
Oh.
'Cause there's just a bunch of different dates on there, so I thought we were
Oh.
going through them individually.
Um,
Sorry. 'Cause I don't think we were all here for each of those.
yeah, we're all here, so.
So I'll
Can-
make a
can we
motion.
Just do part B of the consent for all of
Can
them,
we, can they approve only
seriously.
those that they were?
right?
Can I just abstain from the ones that I was
Or
absent?
the ones that you were?
Is that okay?
Does that fall under?
If we're, I think for the sake of efficiency, are
Should
we
we-
trying to make a motion where individuals who are not present at those meetings will abstain from the vote and
Cool.
then just
Yeah.
take one vote?
Sounds
Correct.
And
good.
you'll be able to weed that out later to know.
Yep. I'll
Okay.
note it on.
That would be
That's
great.
Shall we do that?
Yeah, for the
way to
minutes.
make
Sounds
it
good.
easier.
Okay,
Perfect.
so,
And I'll amend my motion to do just that, to abstain those that were absent those dates.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Sorry about that.
I'll second that, and then all in favor, aye, okay. All right. Okay, so now, public hearing.
I didn't realize you did both.
All right, good evening, charitable and members of the Planning Commission. I'll start it off here and just give a quick, recap of the item here, of the public hearing. So currently, the city of Los Alamitos utilizes the LOS, or level of service, as a metric to use to evaluate the performance of roadways, intersections, freeway entrances, and transit services. So LOS provides assessments via calculations it's like a metric calculation that relies on quantitative metrics such as traffic, speed, volume, and density. And LOS is used as a metric in determining entitlement. So that means that if we had like a new development coming in and we wanted to measure, again, what the traffic impact is, a simpler term there, then we would use LOS. Currently, the state is requiring that the municipalities or jurisdictions, California, switch over from LOS, levels of service, to VMT, which is vehicle miles traveled. What is the difference? VMT is a metric that measures the amount of travel for all vehicles over a given period of time, right? So again, the way I understand it, we do have our traffic engineer here, Farhad. I'm gonna butcher his last name, Iritinablab. I'm sorry. I've known this guy. I just call him Farhad. All right? He can go into details to answer any questions, but the way I understand it is LOS is like is how many times a vehicle like goes up and down the street, while VMT is kind of like they measure the miles that a vehicle goes from one place to the next place. Okay? So again, Right now, the city uses LOS, level of service, but again, the state is asking all jurisdictions to convert to VMT. So that's why we're going through the process here of a public hearing. And so we are asking the Planning Commission, after any comments or questions, to recommend approval to City Council, or we'll take this to an upcoming City Council meeting for approval as well. Okay?
Okay.
That is it. Again, I'm here. We have Tom here, and we also have our traffic engineer here if you have any questions or comments.
Okay. Anybody have any questions or comments? I do, but go ahead.
I have comments.
Comments, okay.
Comments. Okay, first thing struck me is why are we here to vote on something that's being mandated? Okay, so I looked a little bit into it, and some of this, you may all know this, some of you may not, but I'm going to put it on the record in case somebody's watching. The way I saw it, Ron, is the level of service is what we've been using. It's a quantitative measure of traffic congestion and the ability to maneuver for signaled intersections. I think it's important. From this last project we had here, we had some issues with some of the intersections that weren't on the traffic study. But for signal intersection, LOS is measured by the adverse delay experienced by motorists during peak traffic hours. Now that seems to me that that's city specific. That's what we should be concerned about as Los Alamitos planning commissioners. The VMT measures total amount of miles traveled to and from a project instead of measuring a project's impact on traffic congestion in the city. VMT measures whether or not the project impacts other state goals. So that seems like it's a macro application for state issues. If somebody lives in Riverside, lives here and works in Riverside, that's going to be VMT computed miles. So my next thing is I looked further. It says the cities have discretion in the selection of VMT measures and mitigation measures. So again, back to my thought of why are we voting on something that's mandatory to be implemented. And my thought was maybe instead of just saying, yeah, City Council, you can consider voting yes on Senate Bill 743, we can put together a package that specifically addresses some of our city issues. Even though VMT is statewide, we can still, and maybe this gentleman can commit, maybe we can fashion a package together, go to City Council saying, yeah, we'll comply with VMT, we'll comply with the state mandating requirements, but we also want to still have a level of LOS analysis on the congestion within our city. Maybe we can have a two-pronged approach, which means that we can satisfy the state's mandate, but we can still, as a city planning commission, we can still consider what's good for the members, the populace of this city. And again, I'm open to comments from council and from the engineer. But I think if we're going to vote on something that's mandated, let's present the council with something that's tailored, so we don't lose sight of what we're here to do as a Los Alamitos Planning Commission. We're not the State of California Planning Commission. So that's my thoughts.
All right.
Can I provide a real quick response to that, just to clarify a couple?
Yes, and then I'd like to have, then we'll bring him up here, yeah.
Fill in additional details and use his expertise, but I think the initial question was, why are we voting to do something that's mandatory? Effective July 2020, every city within the state was required to utilize this VMT concept when evaluating traffic impacts under CEQA. And there are really three options. You can take each project on a case-by-case basis and apply a VMT standard that's been adopted by another jurisdiction, as long as that's supported by substantial evidence. Or you could utilize the state's recommended VMT thresholds of significance. Or the third option, and this is what we're trying to do tonight, is you can actually attempt to tailor a VMT standard that's specific to your jurisdiction or your region and utilize those standards. And once they're adopted, they'd be applied uniformly to every project that runs through the city, so that as each project comes through, we're not trying to do a piecemeal approach to this. And so what has been proposed here tonight is taking a threshold that was developed by OCTA for this region and saying, okay, when Los Alamitos considers traffic impacts in its CEQA documents, these are the standards we will apply uniformly to every project. So that's That's the action we're trying to move through tonight. If we take no action at all, we're still subject to the general requirement that VMT be used to assess traffic impacts when CEQA documents come through. So that doesn't change. Again, it's just trying to establish a uniform standard that's city-specific that we would apply uniformly moving forward.
All right. Okay, the,
You want to, Farhad, you want to let Farhad?
Good evening, Commissioner. My name is Farhad Irani-Talab. I'm the city traffic engineer. Generally, but even though it's a mandate, it has part of the process that has to go to the planning commission and council. So it's a process that we are going through. Basically, the state decided that congestion and delay is no longer as an environmental impact report. So there's no impact environmentally. It doesn't mean you don't have as a city impact by a project. So EIR required before you use a level of service, but now they're looking at a regional travel to reduce the greenhouse gas effect, basically. So any project that is going to be creating more than what the state mandated, which is you have to be 15% below your baseline. Let's say in 2016 you have had per capita, they are talking about per capita. I want to tell you how they decided on that. On a residential, for the VMT, they use it per capita. That means per person that is traveling in the house. And for offices and employment, they are using per employee VMT. So therefore, they are going to use as a regional what the effect is on the region rather than locally as a LOS. And the Office of Planning and Research says that as a EIR, you use VMT, but each city can use the level of service for their local impact. That doesn't change anything. And most cities in Orange County have adopted the OCTA traffic guidelines and thresholds. So it's a lot easier if you follow what the OCTA, the Orange County Transportation Authority, has adopted, which is almost the same as what the state has indicated what the impact should be. So basically, that's why we're recommending to use the OCTA traffic guidelines as a base for EIR. Again, I'm talking about EIR because that's your CEQA process. So LOS has nothing. You might have an impact on, let's say, Los Alamitos Boulevard and Catella. That has nothing to do with environmental impact. But as a local, you can get the fee from the developer to improve the level of service. So that has nothing to do. There are two separate processes to go through. So that's basically where we are. I'll be happy to answer any question.
So are you stating that the OCTA kind of adopted what he was talking about with the LOS as a separate thing while still maintaining?
Correct.
Okay.
The OCTA has a two-section, what called a CEQA impact, and then you have non-CEQA impact, which is a level of service, still the same way.
so it only pertains to the EIR.
Correct.
Okay, well, but, so we could still make a, the environmental impact report, let's just say, would be approved with whatever mitigations need to be made. But if independently of that, we can utilize the level of service to address whatever
Correct.
other issues, delays and stuff like that,
Correct.
apart from that.
But for EIR purposes, you can only say a project has an impact if it go more than what is the threshold on vehicle mile travel.
Okay, can you explain, I understand level of service, okay, that's probably easy to understand. I mean, what was A, B, C, D, E, F, and, you know, we're sitting at an E or an F over here for delays, you know, whenever. But explain what the vehicle miles traveled is. What is that? I don't, that's the part that I'm having trouble understanding. I mean, are you doing traffic counts and figuring it's from one end of let's just say Catella, from one end of Catella all the way to where it ends out at the 55?
I think, yes, that's basically what it is. There is a Southern California, the SCAG, they have done the modeling, travel modeling for each region, how much people travel to get to work or to go on a thing. VMT means, let's say if you're going from home to work, but on the way you go to a Starbucks and get something, and then you go to work, then at noon you go for lunch, and that VMT measures all of those that before we didn't care. You go to work and come back in between whatever you do. VMT considers all the movements you make through your whole day as part of the impact, because their purpose is to reduce the greenhouse gases. The delay and congestion doesn't have anything to do. And I tell you, it's not only you, all cities, all jurisdictions, they have issues with VMT, because it really doesn't make sense for local, because you don't get anything out of the environmental impact. It's basically, the mitigations are basically transportation demand management. It means if you're having an impact, the only thing you can do is, for example, you charge parking fee on your rentals. If you want to rent something, and say if you want parking, you're going to pay $100 or more to reduce the number of people that are using vehicles. Or you're going to give incentive for transit uses for the workers. Those are the mitigations that is being included in the threshold or the mitigation.
Okay, so we have this threshold, these numbers. Okay, and let's say that the VMT indicates that this particular project is going to create too much of a whatever the impact, okay, based on the vehicle. Then does the state then mandate the mitigation that, okay, since along the Catella corridor here, you've got an impact, but we allow parking on Catella once you get past Bloomfield. So then are we going, in order to mitigate that, are we going to be forced then to put in the pay meters and stuff like that?
It has nothing to do with the public parking. When I'm talking about is
the mitigation.
The mitigation is going to be for the developer. For example, let's say an apartment has 200 parking spaces inside that's on-site, not off-site. We are not talking about anything to do with the off-site. It's on-site parking.
All right.
This is one of the mitigations. There are a list of mitigation measures that is named on the state report that you can use and is acceptable. And every one of them has a percentage of reduction on VMT. For example, let's say your average for Los Alamitos is 15 miles per capita. It means every person in a residential using 15 miles a day for going to work and shopping and getting gas or whatever.
Right.
And the state mandates that you have to be 15% below. It means if next time a developer comes and it has 15.5, that's an impact. If it has 14.5, it has an impact. So let's say 15% of 15 cars is about 2, so you have to be below 13 miles, vehicle miles traveled, to be acceptable, no impact. So if, let's say, you have 14, then you're going to use certain mitigations to reduce your 15 to 13 that is acceptable level. Let's say level of service D or C or whatever you had. So that's how it's being measured. Has nothing to do with capacity increase or anything to do with the roadway. It's only to do with reduction of number of miles you travel because you're going to reduce the greenhouse gas effect. That's all VMT is.
Right. And not to, I don't want to beleaguer too much or to get too far ahead of myself, but I'm just trying to get in my mind like an example. So if you had a particular project that triggered this, a need for a mitigation on site, okay, to reduce the overall miles traveled, then it seems to me then, then A, you have to reduce the number of units,
That's one of the options.
or eliminate a parking space, reduce your parking, lower your parking standards, so instead of requiring, maybe 2.5 spaces per, or 3 spaces, you say, well, we got to lose 5 spaces or 10 spaces to, quote, eliminate the vehicles that would be in those spaces.
Correct.
So
You're
that
correct.
then they can go park and somewhere else in the
Well,
city. and mess this up.
Some of the ones that I have worked with, they have a gate, for example, on the parking, and they have to pay to show to come in, and they cannot park on the residential. That's part of what's supposed to be, but who's going to monitor? That is the difficulty.
Right.
But that's how the state has mandated what we are going to be able to do or not to do. So it's all measured by reducing the number of people in the vehicle. Now it can be, again, shuttle. For example, if it is an employee center, you create a shuttle so you take people up and bring them in. Instead of one per person, you're going to have a lot more in a car. So that's how it's going to work.
Is this only for future events, or it's not retroactive to?
I don't know if for Los Alamitos it has that much effect really, because you don't have such a big area to have 200 homes. Of course, right now in Lamson we have that one, 240, but generally you don't have that many vacant land. They did that, I think, to make it easier for the infill projects not to be creating impact. Let's put it this way. Smaller projects are a lot easier to screen out because there are some screening process. If you, for example, don't generate 100 vehicles per day, you're exempt. If you have an area that is below the regional average that you have in Los Alamitos areas zoning, you can have it in those low VMT area without having an impact. Those are the criteria that is shown on the OCTA traffic guidelines, that how you're going to do it. So it was done by a good consultant with OCTA working with all cities to come up with something that is acceptable for everybody.
All right.
Can I say something?
Go ahead.
So what I'm hearing is they want to decrease the vehicle miles traveled, but they want to increase our density by 700 and some homes. So that state doesn't blend.
They like to have a mixed use. For example, if you have an apartment, you're going to have retail on the bottom.
Yeah.
So instead of driving to go and get a Starbucks, you just walk down and you pick up a Starbucks. That is the goal. And it's mostly, let's say, in downtown area in LA, you can do that, but in other areas, suburban, you cannot do it. No. So that's a difficulty all jurisdictions have right now. So I don't know what the future is going to hold. The state might say, forget it. There has been a lot of lawsuits in Northern California regarding this. But that's how it is right now, and it's the law.
How does that impact any rapid transit or anything? Does that have a real good benefit for those projects coming through, for rapid transit?
No.
No.
Okay. Any more questions? Comments? All right. Somebody like to make a motion to,
I'll make a motion to approve.
okay, follow the staff recommendations, item 2, okay.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Need a roll call or just, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Wait,
There you go.
All right.
2 opposed?
Pardon me?
Did you guys opposed?
No,
Oh.
I am opposed, but I'll vote
Oh,
yes
oh.
since it's mandated.
Oh, okay.
All right. So do you have it? You have the count right?
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
I was going to back picture out whatever he did.
Yeah, okay. Okay, moving on to item 7. Items from the Development Services Department.
Yes, thank you. I want to start off that the city's hosting the Winter Wonderland event this Saturday, December 3rd on Pine Street. It's from 4 to 7:30 p.m. So bring out your family. It's a very good time. I want to mention also that we are still in the midst of the Los Al Bucks, and so we are have a campaign called Double Your Bucks. So, and then also, we have something here that it was actually held tonight, but you can also do it at Winter Wonderland, where you could gain additional holiday bucks, we call it, where you drop off a toy, and then you receive additional bucks, all right? And so, again, Double Your Bucks campaign, I just want to point out that that is where you spend the regular bucks at a restaurant or a business here in Los Alamitos, and then you get reimbursed for that buck. So you get to double your bucks. So you get a new, whatever, 40 or 50 worth of bucks. So I give example this week, the week of 12/05, or next week is Aegean Design Studio, Petrini Pizza, Print Master, and of course the Youth Center Christmas tree lot. So again, example is you go take your holiday bucks to the Christmas tree lot at Youth Center. You can use it to buy a Christmas tree. You come into the City Hall here, you show the receipt, you show that you're a resident of Los Alamitos, and then you get a new bundle of Los Al Bucks, okay? Sunset Saturday still going on. When we started, Sunset Saturday was every Saturday. We have now decreased it to the second Saturday of the month. So it's coming back onto Pine Street on Saturday, December 10th. And the theme for that Saturday is Whoville Holiday Night Market. Whoville is the Grinch, that town in the Grinch. And again, Saturday, December 10th, Pine Street, 4 to 8 p.m. And the last thing that I have here is just to remind the Planning Commission that we have a special Planning Commission scheduled for Wednesday, December 14th, in person, 7 p.m. Same place, right here today. Okay? Anything, Tom?
Yeah, we'll be at that meeting bringing back the housing element again for more changes that the state wants us to make. They say they will approve it if we make these changes. They're basically very easy changes that were made. So that's what we'll be talking about. So, yeah, during that meeting.
Okay. Michael?
Nothing for me, thank you.
All right, back to the commission.
Okay. Any commissioner reports? None? Okay.
Use your holiday bucks. I've done it.
I used mine already.
I'm out.
I even got to come and get more.
Oh, you get,
So
oh,
I've
can we
doubled my
reload?
bucks, and I did the double bucks where I went one place and got more. And
If you want, again, if you want more, come out to Winter Wonderland, bring out a toy, and you get more bucks.
Okay.
Can we move Winter Wonderland to the 10th because I'm going to be gone this Saturday?
Yeah.
You need to talk to the recreation department for that one.
Okay, I'll try. I got to go to the boss for that. I'll try.
All right. Okay. Is that it? Okay, so we'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting until the 14th of December.
Thank you. Yes.